I think we've got Rem in and Daniel. Are you guys both there?
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. Hello, hello. I'll just take this noisy jacket off. Hold on.
I'm here.
Okay.
There we go.
This
Is it the three of us?
Yes, there's three of us, so we'll have to kind of... This is a new balance here. I got to learn this. and I'm recording it now, so you guys are being...
Cool.
Rem, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You said you've been studying the case for 10 years?
Yeah. About 10 years. I think a little over 10 years now. So, yeah, I grew up in Ohio. You're in Ohio, right?
Yeah. What part of Ohio were you in?
Chagrin Falls.
Up near Cleveland?
It's a small town near Cleveland, yeah. About 30 minutes east of Cleveland.
I think I was there once or twice.
Yeah, it's a nice little town. But I've been in Boulder, Colorado for the last 13 and a half years, I guess.
How do you like Colorado?
It's nice. It's a little bit drier than I would like. I guess I'm from Ohio, so I'm used to the moisture.
Yes.
And it's not so much like that out here, but the weather is nice. Yeah.
But did you have any of the fires this year?
No. I don't think so. Okay. Well, there were some fires in Colorado, but not anywhere near where I am.
Okay. That's very, very good. You know, when I go to Arizona to sometimes meet with the Munns Park people, it's weird to see these, how can I say, these forests that have these pine trees in there and then cactus amid the pine trees. It's this weird, you're used to forests that are wet, right? With grass, and it's different.
Yeah. And leaves that are wet on the ground, and yeah. There's not really any leaves out here. Not that many.
It's so weird. Like, the one thing that was weird with me is, like, I traveled up this kind of like up a mountain when I was in Munns Park, and it was so hot that I had to take my jacket off, right? And
yeah, but then you get in the shade, and then you have to put it back on.
Exactly. I mean, I walked over to this one area, and I thought it was like a giant white tent, okay? And I was hot, and I was sweating, and I had my coat off. And I walked over there, and I just about freaked out because it was snow. I was like, how can this be? I mean, but you're right. In the shade, it was cold. It's a totally different climate anyway.
Well, there's snow on the ground here in Colorado today, and the past probably like almost a week. But we've had a really mild winter here. It's been there have been a lot of days where it's in the 60s and 70s Fahrenheit.
That's great.
And I mean, I live right near the University of Colorado at Boulder, and
Mm-hmm.
I've seen girls laying out in bikinis in the middle of January here.
Wow, that's weird.
Lucky guy.
Now, Daniel, you're in the Yukon, right?
Yes, I am. And there's way too much snow for bikinis at the moment here. I keep threatening my wife to try it, but I haven't done it yet.
It's brutal.
No, we got about a foot of snow here yesterday or the day before. So
oh my goodness.
First real snowfall in a long time, in years actually. So we're actually quite happy about that. So in the last few years, it's just been so dry that there's been no snow hardly at all, and it's been really unusual. So now this is the first actual snowfall, although it's melted a couple times this winter already, which is also very unusual. So nothing like that when I was growing up, that's for sure. So yeah, climate's changing.
Well, that's one thing that from the Meier information that has become so apparent to me is our abuse and destruction of the creation is causing extreme weather, at least from my perspective. And I believe, from what I've studied, now I've had to supplement the stuff that Billy has said, and I've kind of gone out and done my own research. And to me, the forests seem like a moderating factor of the weather. In other words, they shield us from the extremes, but we don't understand that the forest has a purpose, and our bulldozers go right in and destroy the beautiful trees. But everything in creation is interdependent. Everything in the universe is one, and it's all bound together. And we don't understand that yet, obviously.
Well, we're just a bunch of kids in a physics class just playing around with the chemicals and not really thinking about the fact that there might be consequences. So we're just here we are with a few petri dishes, and there's an explosion. There's whatever. So, but we don't really think about it. Let's clean it up.
Let's try that again. Let's try that explosion again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by the way, Mark, you might be interested to talk to my brother.
Yeah.
Because he lives in Missoula, Montana, and he is privy to the Meier information. He doesn't study it very, very often, but he acknowledges it as being real, and he likes to talk with me about it every once in a while. But mainly, what he does is he's into plants, and he does a lot of forestry and horticulture, permaculture, and stuff like that. And I mentioned some of the stuff that you've talked about on your show to him, about the forest and how it regulates the weather. And then he just kind of like went off on a tangent, and just filled in all these gaps that I had no idea. And he's able to talk for pretty long on that. So maybe that might be an interesting future thing to potentially explore for a show if you're looking for something.
Does he have Skype
someday?
Does he have
Yeah,
Skype?
he does.
Oh, that would be perfect. You said something there, that he understands that the Meier material is real. And that is something I'd like to hear you guys talk about a little bit.
How dare he?
Wait, who? Me or my brother? Or
you two guys on Skype. Rem first. You can start first. When did you know the Meier material is real, or is it a continuing, ongoing thing?
I still kind of find that it's continuing. It's a continuous sort of, like you said, ongoing thing. I think it took me about three or 4 years before I really could actually grasp it's the reality of it. I think for the first few years I kind of thought that it's well, I feel like part of me knew it was real right away.
Yep.
But it's one thing to imagine something to be real, and it's completely different thing for it to actually be real in reality, like something that other things that you know to be real.
And did you feel a cognitive dissonance where suddenly you were confronted with the fact that you had some notions stored away in your subconscious, unconscious, or conscious mind that were wrong, and now you had to kind of rectify that with this new information that was there?
That's a good question. Probably. I feel like it was there was a little bit of cognitive dissonance, but it was like when you're tuning your guitar and the two strings are out of tune.
Yeah.
And then you're turning the knob, and then the frequencies align. That's kind of what I felt like,
Well, that's a great analogy. And I go through cognitive dissonance even now. All these years later, maybe there's something wrong with me. I don't know. But Can you comment, Daniel?
It's called learning. It's called learning.
I think I kind of seek out the cognitive dissonance anymore.
Yeah, I do too.
Because like so much of it, I kind of align with it so much, and then every once in a while I'll come on information that makes me feel weird.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of like that, and I want to try to explore that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's like the whole line about, the scientist doesn't actually say eureka when he makes a new discovery. He says, oh, that's weird. So I think that's a lot what it's like. And that's what it was like for me making my calculations. The whole process was, oh, that's weird. Okay, that's not what I thought. But it made sense in the end.
That's hilarious. So, I could just laugh about that for a long time. That's like the last 10 years of my life. Oh, that's weird.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah.
Mark, when did you find out about the Meier case?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too.
Well, I think in 2010 I started my radio show, so I probably found out about the Meier case 2 or 3 years before that. And I was listening to Randy Winters, and it's such a shame that he had a falling out with the Meier people, but I understand why a lot more now. But I kept coming back to the Meier case, and I would feel that cognitive dissonance, but it was like a sense of awe at the same time, like, wow, this is real, this is amazing. And then I would go away from it for a while, and then I'd come back to it. And now I'm at the point where the Meier material is like the greatest source of wisdom on the planet. And there's really nothing else that's even a close second.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very weird. And it's really great to have you guys on because I know you understand that. And there's a very small group of people on the earth that understand that.
I was doing the math on that. I was thinking, well, what's 1 billion people? That's 1,000 times 1 million. Well, there's not even 1 million people probably who are into this. So
no.
So it's a pretty small group of us, and that's all right, I guess.
Maybe over 1,000?
Well, probably. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's because there's people who are not on Facebook and people who are not like involved in any groups who study it on their own, right?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of scientists too.
Oh yeah, a lot of scientists.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. It's it comes out kind of looking that way too when you realize that scientists what their focuses are and all that kind of stuff, and it turns out to be that oftentimes, in many cases anyways, that they're trying to see if what he's saying is true and that sort of thing, which is a good exercise. I'd say it's a healthy exercise. So yeah, it seems to be happening a lot. So I guess recently, what's that?
There's a lady that listens to this show, and she's probably going to hear this discussion. And she was from Switzerland and on Facebook, and I don't know, something compelled me just to write her a little letter. And she started listening to the show. She lives like a few miles from Billy and didn't even really know anything about him, I don't think. Or maybe only like in a superficial way. So now I think she's a regular listener, but
I met a guy in high school from Switzerland, and his dad had a house like 2 minutes from the center too, and he didn't know about it. So.
Isn't that amazing?
It's weird. Yeah, it's really weird. So yeah, it's really funny.
It goes to this whole change that we're going through, especially with my job. A lot of the people I work with work remotely. So there's this, how can I say this? Like, we can have a perfect conversation right now. I mean, maybe not perfect, but it's almost like sitting like right in your living room with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's very, it's a virtual world that we're moving to.
And the Play Iron actually made that possible, so thank goodness for that. Otherwise, I'd be...
Explain that.
What's that?
I'm not
with the internet.
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I guess they influenced our scientists, or influenced some of the scientists who created the internet to actually make it a possibility for spreading well, what we're doing and all that kind of stuff. So it's keeping it out of reach of governments, and especially in the 1970s and 80s, it was a good time to start for that reason. And they knew about that timing very carefully, very clearly, and so I can see why they would be very much in on having helped our scientists actually bring it about as a technology to begin with, if they were so perfect with their timing in that sense. So, yeah.
And you went through that whole time of your life, Daniel, when you were searching for the truth and through your own logic and rationality. Everything laid out that pointed right to what you eventually found to be the Meier case, right?
It's what I discovered was called the Meier case. I didn't have a name for it. I just knew where and when it came public, and that was it. So, yeah. So, but nice to have a name attached to it now, finally.
Yeah. And, Mark, I was talking with Daniel a few months ago and kind of telling him about how at one point when I was little, I was playing in my driveway or somewhere in my yard or something. And I remember standing at the end of my driveway and kind of just standing there and just feeling like I had this feeling that suddenly came to me that was like, that it was like, you're going to have an interesting life. And I just had this like peculiar, just kind of like, I kind of paused with what I was doing. And I still remember being there at the end of my driveway in Ohio. Just that it's like, you're going to have an interesting life. And I don't remember it being like it was just like a thing that like, okay, that's a weird idea to have,
Yeah.
And I always thought that, and I always like tested that out. I'm like, is this why? And then is this why? Like when I'm, in high school, or it's like, is this why? And like different experiences in college. And then when I found the Meier case and started becoming involved in it and really studying it and really understanding the implications of it, I thought, oh, I think this might have something to do with that feeling that I had when I was a little kid.
Wow.
Maybe that's like it could be what I've kind of been tossing around in my head is that maybe it was like this incarnation realization of the codex or like something like that. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but it's interesting to think about.
Sounds very similar to my experience, and that's exactly. What year was that?
What year? I don't know. Well, I was born in '86, and it was probably. I mean, I don't even know because I could have been anywhere from age 4 to age 7 or 8, or probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah, wow. So that would have been the codex was still actually in existence at the time. Then it was ended in 1995, right? So, because I had mine in 1993, and I was, I guess, 8 years old or just turned 8 years old or something. It was that summer, and yeah, same thing. I was on my lawn and I realized that I was a part of this mission, and then within that few months, I realized I called it a codex. I called it, I had the right word for it and everything, and kind of
that's wild.
Yeah, and figured out, many aspects of the storage banks and the spirit and how it works and reincarnates from person to person. All that stuff was just kind of inherent in that knowledge because you can't be aware of a codex or understand what a codex would be without knowing those things. So it wouldn't function otherwise. So it's.
And the whole idea of extraterrestrials existing is not nearly as weird to me as the laws of the universe and reincarnation and what the universal consciousness really is. These are the things which blow my mind over and over and over again. The fact that there are other people in the universe is really good to have that confirmed, but the really amazing, astounding stuff is dealing with the universal consciousness and reincarnation and the spirit form and all those things. Those are the source of my continual cognitive dissonance as I continue to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you want to have a really weird feeling. Is think about the absolute nothing for a while.
I don't want to.
Yeah. That's a good thing to think about when you're suicidal. That's what I did lots every day. I was like, wow, what's the point of this?
Oh man, no. You're killing me. That's so funny. That's so hilarious.
Yeah. But it is an interesting thought, isn't it? I was actually even just thinking about it a couple months ago, and it's still just as weird as it was then.
About what?
Absolute nothing, or
yeah, or and then like the different universes, if they're only made of spiritual energy, no physical
I have
things.
a real issue with that. I'm still struggling with that. I really don't like that notion. I want to change that part of the whole thing.
Well, it's just kind of the similar thing, I guess, it's just matter is, refining itself slowly. And so it's, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like such a huge...
it probably isn't as bad as what I'm thinking, but I think I have become very attached to matter. And maybe the spiritual...
Well, just try living without it.
What, try living without matter? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
No, good luck, yeah.
I got a few more incarnations before I can do that, right?
Anyways, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. You didn't derail me at all. I've already been derailed. I'm living a life of derailment. That is true. Doesn't this material is so profound that it derails you.
Well, it rails you. I don't know, either way. But like if you think about it in terms of the whole rest of the universe, that is, quite aware of what's going on versus our tiny little dust ball of a planet that barely exists. You can't even see it from Jupiter hardly. I mean, and here we are, totally ignoring everything. Well, we're the outnumbered ones. Just remember that. I mean, on Earth.
Have you seen that picture from inside the shadow of Saturn, where you can see the little speck of Earth near the ring of it? Yeah,
the pale blue dot.
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's pretty profound, isn't it? And I guess that was Carl Sagan that led that project. It was the Voyager, or is it Cassini? I don't remember. But yeah, I guess they turned it around and could see the Earth through the whatever it's called from Saturn, the ring there. Yeah. And that's pretty impressive. every person we've ever heard of, every battle that's ever been fought, every ideology that we've ever, whatever took place on that little dot.
Yeah, I had a very, very similar thought, almost the same thought when I first saw that picture.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to miss, isn't it? Wouldn't it be great if we could all just travel to space and see that for ourselves? I wonder if that would change people's minds.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Imagine how different the world would be if everybody got that opportunity when they're growing up and as part of one of their classes in school.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would do to religions.
That's the first thought that comes to my mind. I wonder if it would actually, if they would keep doing that or if they would stop. Because that's kind of the notion right now, is that if we did go out into the cosmos and start interacting with other worlds, whether they be less advanced than us or more advanced than us, it would still be a threat to them or to us. Us pissing off, sorry my language, but more advanced people who would not put up with us, or less advanced people who would have no defense against us, like we did with what we did in North America and everywhere else in the world. So it's would we stop? Probably not. That's my theory anyways, and I think that's why it's good to stay confined to our little planet for now, or at least our solar system.
Well, one of the things... Well, let me go off on this tangent before I bring up the next subject. This is from the Decalogue, have either one of you guys gotten a copy of the Decalogue?
Yep.
Not yet. No, I read an older version of it, but no.
Rem, have you read it?
I found out. Yeah, I have read. I've not read the whole thing, but
it's in German, right?
Is it Decalogue?
Yeah.
I think they translated it recently, didn't they? Or is that a different one?
Yeah, Canada, Figu Canada Landesgroup translated it.
Really? I'm such an idiot. I should have ordered that. My gosh.
Oh, that's what you were mentioning.
Oh man,
I thought,
yeah, me too.
Can I order that from Figu Canada?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a really great section on striving in there.
Really?
And recently I actually found out that it's the same section as in The Way to Live.
Okay.
There's you know what I'm talking about, Daniel? There's like there's like that one that's like about a third of the way through the book, and it's like it lasts for about 50 pages or something, you know?
Yeah.
50 pages.
Only on striving.
So yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. Yeah. Let's see if I can find it here. It's one. Anyway, yeah, no, I that was my favorite part of that whole book.
Well,
yeah, it's amazing. It took me so long to read it. I kept picking up the book and trying to tackle that part, and I kept, getting it was like my brain was going on overload, and I'd have to put it down because I couldn't like take it all in. So about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago or something, I made it a point to go to a coffee shop and just sit down and read it, and it took me like 6 hours.
Oh my!
because it's like I kept it's hard to keep your mind engaged with it,
it's so deep, and
not like drift off into thought, because it's easy to do with this type of information, and I guess that's probably part of the reason why he recommends to only read a little bit at a time, so you can ponder it.
Exactly.
But I really wanted to just try to focus 100% on it and understand it all the way through in one, and I had to take a few breaks, but I made it through. And then I realized that same section is also in The Way to Live. And it's interesting. I haven't really done this yet, but the translations are different. So, Australia translated it, and then Canada translated it.
Okay.
And
this is, again, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I don't think when you get it in English, you're getting the whole thing, because I bet both translations are equally good.
They are, that's also probably why I thought that it was a different thing at first, because the translations are just different enough. Plus, it was a while since I read the one from Way to Live, so just to be fair,
sure,
it's not like I read them back to back. But
when I was reading that chapter, man, I would stop like every paragraph and I'd go through like a whole list of things that happened in my life. Like, man, this situation and that situation and this situation and that situation. And I'm just like, wow, this makes so much more sense. I wish I'd known this, like using these words at the time, because that would have been so useful.
Yeah.
With musicians, dealing with, especially in high school. I mean, nobody really cares about anything in high school, really, apart from girls and maybe, who knows what. And so, like, I'm thinking about, what I was doing back then. And here I was working really, really hard at music, and other students just, couldn't care less. And they were blaming me, putting me down. And I'm like, well, you're not trying. You're not doing anything with this. Why are you making me feel bad for working hard? And you're doing like maybe an hour practice a week, whereas I'm doing like 6 hours a day. So I'm sorry, there's no comparison. So if I had known about striving, just the word, it's such a great word for what I was trying to convey at the time. And I just couldn't.
Well, it's the meaning of life, right?
Well, yeah, it is living. It's living.
It's a huge component to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the old aphorism that was in one of the books, I guess, only the dead go with the flow. And there's so much truth to that.
Wow.
So all those people were going with the flow, and I thought, well, that's why you're not getting anywhere. Sorry. And nothing I can do about it. Not a thing.
There's something that Michael Uderbrock said in one of his movies that I wrote down almost verbatim, and it comes from the Decalogue. He said, and if you guys can find this for me, it'd be great. The creation is the being and the non-being of the life. It is the most immense mass of spiritual energy in the universe. It is spirit in its purest form and unmeasurable in its wisdom, knowledge, love, harmony, and truth. And then it goes on. I'm not sure if I got the second part of it exactly right, but do you remember that, where that is? Does that ring?
I do. Oh, I don't have the book with me right now, but I think it's the part that's it says creation, what it is.
Is it within, like, could you walk over and grab it, or is it like a hassle?
Well, I'm outside in my garage. If I go inside, I might get bothered by my girlfriend and her daughter.
Okay.
They might ask me to do something.
Okay, yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah.
Quick, turn on the radio, guys. He's in the garage.
But, okay, so, I've gotten all my books through Michael Horn, and I haven't actually gone through Figu yet. So I have to, like, have an account number that I give them, and then they draw money out of that account number or something like that?
Yeah, it's not with credit card, I don't think.
Yeah.
They did. A lot of times they'll do a wire transfer, something like that, I think.
Yeah.
So I could do a wire transfer from a bank to them, the money?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, or even Western Union. I think you could do that.
I used to just do email transfer, but I don't know if they do that in the States. But yeah, it's I guess they're wary of using credit cards.
I don't blame them, because the whole evil system that we have is just so corrupt.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I like the convenience, I must admit.
Oh, it's too bad they can't make something convenient with something else. They make it inconvenient for other things on purpose.
Yeah.
Because they can't make money otherwise. So, yeah. Yeah. I tried going to a hotel once, and without a credit card when I was younger, I had to pay like $500 because they wanted some damage deposit.
Oh, my Lord.
For one night. So I was like, wow, okay, that's lesson learned, but seriously, that's horrible.
Let me jump to a different topic here. We've only got about 20 minutes, I think. I haven't checked the time exactly when to keep it to an hour. Yeah, well, we got about 30 minutes. I want to go to Contact Report 257, and I want to see if you guys are aware of this. It says, and so that the population should be left in ignorance about the truth of the existence of extraterrestrials. Nevertheless, however, that fear must be developed in the people against the extraterrestrials, out of which a far-reaching hate must be established against the invaders, and thereby once again a defensive rage steered by hate should result. The U.S. presidency, as well as the leading officers of the military and secret services, etc., came upon a psychologically sophisticated idea to work out a horror scenario in extraterrestrial matters, and to start it in such a way that not only America would be seized by it, but rather the greater parts of the world. So what Contact Report 257 is talking about is the hoaxed extraterrestrial invasion. And I wondered if you guys were aware of this.
What a perfect segue into actually what I wanted to bring up. I was writing... I was thinking the other day, I woke up and I had some thoughts to add to my calculations in the introduction, and it actually helped to explain sort of the method that I used, and it really plays into exactly what you're talking about here. I might as well just read it off what I have here for you.
Sure.
So basically, I'll just start from this paragraph here. So yeah, I refuse to take in any information that didn't make sense on the whole. Any information outside the framework at the time held no relevance for me, especially while I was building it. It was a safe lock, a systematic destroyer of contradictions for me to rely on, which mapped out the macro scale information. And this is the important part. So the only way for me to learn the truth for myself was to proceed with the construction of this framework. It would sort out the truth from the lies on a macro scale first that are completely ignored in the world. Mm-hmm. Then when the macro scale information, like the big, what are countries doing, what's happening, on a global scale, that kind of stuff, when the macro information had been completed and correspondingly paid off, I could then proceed to discovering and exploring the microscale information regarding the finer, less obvious details concerning all fields of knowledge. It made sense to start with the macro first, however, since the microscale information was too easily able to be manipulated in territorial pockets, separated from each other, which is why we see different countries, religions, cultures, and so forth at war with each other today. They ignore the macro scale contradictions, which they are actually living by, which naturally work against each other and cause frictions and destructions on a global scale. These ignored frictions on a macro scale are the sources of all the world's problems today. Almost no one pays attention to them or cares to deal with them on an individual basis, and this seemed totally absurd to me. To me, the micro-scale information we were being given was too fraught with traps and dangers set by less than scrutable sources, usually at the top, looking down on us like sheep going in for the slaughter. I had to wait for the calculations to pay off before I could allow myself the luxury to explore refined and detailed information. It's much more difficult to fudge with the data on a macrocosm. It effectively sheds any shells of prejudice, political boundaries, racism, hatred, bigotry, tribalism, and all boundaries which keep cultures in line with their geographic locations or ideologies. When one can remove such tribalistic blinders and see through the borders and through the cultures, and one can begin to see a very clear picture indeed. Many things become clear then about the different types of control that are going on, and their solutions become clear as well.
That was extremely profound. Rem, do you have any comments?
Yeah, that's really great. The macro first before the micro makes me think of a real physical framework. Like that's how you build a house.
Yeah,
exactly. You have to start with the frame, the actual structure and the foundation, and then go into the details of it.
That's a great analogy. Can I use that?
Sure. It's not. I don't care. That's how I paint too. Like that's. Yeah. You gotta. If you're gonna get it to look right, you gotta start with the structure underneath, and then you fill in the details at the end.
Exactly. And that's the one thing that you see when people are trying to debunk. They're looking at little tiny details while ignoring the whole macrocosm. And so it's just hilarious, actually, to watch them. It's just funny.
They don't want to know the truth.
No, they don't want other people to know the truth either.
And they want to protect their worldview most of all. They want to protect their view of the universe.
Yeah, from the universe.
Yeah.
Which is so absurd.
Yeah.
The one thing you learn, the one thing I learned was that I continually had to deconstruct my worldview. And it was not that big of a deal after a while. Once it's been initially deconstructed, you get used to it, I guess. But I think a lot of people are no longer searching for the truth. They are merely trying to defend their worldview. And anything that comes in that clearly contradicts their worldview, they'll just reinterpret the data so that it matches their worldview. They won't they won't be objective with new information. No, exactly. No.
And that's the thing, though, is that you can control people so much more easily when you focus on the microcosmic view. So that's why you can create countries against countries, Russia against the US or whatever, some stupid thing like that. That's how that's possible. They ignore the macro, they ignore the macrocosm, and they focus only on the microcosm, and they try and manipulate the perspective, but it's not real. it doesn't add up with the macrocosm, and the macrocosm includes the whole universe. So yeah, try and fudge with that. See how that works. It just doesn't. So
is it in Contact Report 10 where Semyase talks about the macrocosm and the microcosm?
You're way better with numbers than I am.
I think that sounds about right. Contact Report 10. It says, she says something like the human being is a microcosm within the macrocosm.
Yeah.
Or is it the other way? Or does she say it the other way around? But she says something to that effect.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't remember which Contact Report that was exactly, but yeah, exactly.
I think it is Contact Report 10.
You guys would be way better for remembering that kind of thing than I am. I was terrible at history and numbers and stuff.
Contact Report 11 is really good too. She kind of continues on a bunch of those similar topics.
It says that's why the terrestrial philosophers of old spoke about the human as a macrocosm with a microcosm. That's why the terrestrial philosophers of old spoke about the human as a microcosm within the macrocosm, because everything that is contained within the universe is also within the human. And I must admit, I don't understand that. Other than, what is it? Is it a hologram? Maybe that's not the right word. What is it? What is it where at the smallest level it repeats what is in the big?
Well, everything's connected, right? So at a I don't know about atoms, but I'm thinking like even further down, smaller. It's I guess I was looking into this guy called Nassim Haramein, who kind of explained a little bit about this, and it was actually pretty interesting. Some of the stuff he was sort of figuring out, and he really explained that really well. Actually, I found, anyways, but. It's everything is one. Everything's always connected. The particles or whatever have sort of an awareness of all the other particles in the universe at the same time.
And the way that I've always interpreted that thing that Semyase said with the microcosm within the macrocosm is that everything within the human being is also the universe. It's like every human being has a creational spirit within them,
right?
And so
it has to be infinite, right?
It's like a little hologram, like you said, of the creation within each person. So that's how I always interpreted that, because it's
you can subdivide it infinitely. So you have something that's finite, but it can be subdivided infinitely. And that's the way you fit the infinite within the finite. It's like an irrational number.
Yeah.
It's 1.3, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it goes on forever. Right.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah, that I guess you're talking about the Nassim Haramein thing there too, I suppose. Yeah. That's cool. We actually kind of demonstrated that geometrically. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. So. But it's I think everyone has the spirit form, and the spirit form is it's connected to everything, and it is a part of the universe, and we all are. So.
I love that verse that says the spirit is the wonder of all wonder, and all power emerges from it.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that today, and then I think it's probably right after that is a wonder. People call a wonder. I don't have anything in front of me, so I'm just going by my memory. But it's just like people assign the term wonder to something that they can't explain, when it really is just any wonder is just the utilization of the spiritual forces in a. Mark, do you have that in front of you? I think it's like right.
Yeah, it says. The human, however, places a wonder into something for which he lacks all possibilities of a logical explanation.
Yeah.
A wonder means using the spirit force in perfection.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You know, it's been several years ago, and I don't know if the guy still listens to the show or not. I, I I don't know. I hope he does, and maybe he will hear this discussion. But a fella that he came out, and I met him at a restaurant. He wanted to meet me for whatever reason, and normally I wouldn't do that sort of thing, but just something told me to go ahead and do it. And I met this guy. He had been listening to the program, but he was very, very offended by what Semyase had said about what she said, that we were so self-destructive and that it would take a complete change in our consciousness to keep us from destroying ourselves. Which I always thought was very, very interesting, why somebody would be offended by that, because, and he was, I guess, was real proud of the human race and how far we had come, but just to think of how bizarre things are and how horrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a neutral positive perspective.
Do you guys remember the intro to the Might of Thoughts? This was one of the big aha moments I had too. Where it's Guido Musburger's wife said, she wrote the, here it is. She wrote this in 1997. She said, "So the book which lies before you is dedicated to humankind which is ill in its consciousness, so that it again finds the creational natural way which it lost a long time ago." And that, when I first read that, a shudder went through me, because I knew that was the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's exactly what went through my head when I was 8 on the lawn there.
When you were 8 years old? Seriously?
Well, that's when I discovered the codex. Yeah, yeah. That's one way to word it perfectly, actually. So yeah, exactly. It was our lifetime. It was our duty to bring teaching back to the world, back, about cause and effect, and to stop ignoring it.
Rem, any thoughts?
I just got sidetracked in my own mind.
Oh, that's okay.
He's just tinkering with his car in his garage. I can
tangents are fine.
I'm just kidding.
Do you have a tangent? Not really.
Not really.
It's okay. We're all digesting this information. It takes time.
Oh, I was actually kind of thinking about how when I was in middle school and elementary school, high school, maybe even, every once in a while people call me an alien.
Seriously? No kidding.
Yeah, they'd be like, "He's an alien." I'm like, "I don't know why you're saying that. Is it because of the way I look?
Oh,
the way I act, or I don't know."
That is wild, man. Can you give us any kind of background? Can you elaborate on that anymore, or did they?
I don't know. Just little, with the way that kids are,
Mm-hmm.
they get an idea in their head and then they just run with it, and then whether or not it's true, if they can get a rise out of someone, they'll kind of keep going with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I got that here and there, and
did you speak Spanish?
No. Wouldn't it be funny though if my spirit form were from somewhere else and it was one of those ones that moved here, which is possible.
It's very, very possible.
If I could,
I think about that a lot. I think about that a lot. I mean, how could you be so different, in this world of people and I don't want to be rude, but the world is a strange place, man. And there's something fundamentally wrong with the thinking of most people, or we would all be looking into this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
And
Yeah.
Contact Report 11, which I also am very interested in, I'm glad you brought it up. It says, in the non-creational thinking human being, the material intellect, with all its given limitations, takes the highest place and thereby has a consequence, a tremendously slow development of the spirit and the consciousness. And maybe that's what the difference. Most people are so locked into the material consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
That's
that for one reason or another, people that are interested in this material, the spiritual consciousness is still, we're still getting intuitive impulses from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, how do you grow up in a world like this and end up so different as such a young kid, right?
Right.
Because you get a whole surroundings, like my family, all the friends. Of course, we went to church, and there was, school, and it was all the same, and they all had these really materialistic ideas. And here I was sitting on the lawn when I was 8 years old, thinking about the Codex and
thinking about the universe,
thinking about the universe, and
trying to make sense of the macrocosm.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they don't care about the macrocosm.
They don't care at all about the macrocosm, and that's why the world is destroying itself. So here we are in the physics lab. Hey, what does this do? What does that do? And boom, bash, crang, bang, whatever. It's just, well, that's what that does. Here, look at our planet. So open your eyes and attach them to your brain. So it's yeah, no, it's a funny thing. Like, other people have eyes, they have ears, they have the same senses that I have, but a lot of the times it just seems like it's not attached to their brain somehow. It's really weird. It's not insulting. It's just
it's sometimes it's hard to live. It's hard to live with sometimes, and even though it's always important to remember that everyone is on their own path,
right?
Exactly.
Of evolution. It's just sometimes hard to live with that sometimes with when there's so many people on such a different path.
Yeah.
Who
a destructive path.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we are gearing up for more wars and more this and more that, and why? Somebody wants to make money. Well, that's great. Thanks. Like, is there more to life than that? Come on. Wake up, people. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day, and I was reading, I don't remember which book it was. Actually, I think it was either The Might of Thoughts or The Art of Living. Actually, I think it was, The Way to Live, sorry. And I was reading just the one line, and they were talking about sort of the basis of meditation, and it really helped me just to calm down and relax, and and it was just one little phrase. It's I bring my consciousness home, I let go of everything, I relax myself.
Oh yeah.
I bring my consciousness home, I let go of everything, I relax myself.
That's awesome.
That's the one I was looking for the other day. I couldn't find it. I remember reading it like a week or two ago.
Oh.
And then I was looking for it because I was about to meditate, and I was like, oh, there's those 3 points. What were they?
I play baseball, I go play soccer, and then I get drunk. No, that's not it. Yeah, right.
That's meditation from clear visibility, right?
The way to live, I think.
The Way to Live, yeah.
Oh, that was in The Way to Live?
I don't remember what page, though.
I thought that sounded like something from the meditation from clear visibility book.
No.
It's possible that it might be in there too, but I remember it also being in The Way to Live. And and he goes into why it's this and why it's that as well.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Each point. Yeah.
It's such a great little thing to start with when you're meditating, because it's basically the basis of what meditation should be, and at least at the beginning.
Oh, there's so many good meditation things in The Way to Live.
Yeah.
And I actually have this sheet of paper that I actually went through the whole book, and I I found all of the verses that have to do with meditation. If you want me to list them off really quick, and then you can go back.
Or just quote a few of them, man. I think they're great.
Let's see. So 233 is one of them. It was numbered 233, not page 233.
Oh.
So where would that be? I mean, that's just the first one that I have.
Well, here's one that I used to quote to myself, and this is in Meditation from Clear Visibility. It says, "Everything is achievable for me, and I master whatever I wish to accomplish."
Oh, you're talking about the 77 phrases.
Yes.
Yeah, those are great. I love those. Yeah, those are wonderful. One in particular I was looking at the other day was, where was it? You know, they all have meaning for me over time at different days. Like some days, some of them mean absolutely nothing to me. Sometimes they have total meaning for me, depending on what I'm going through. It's really interesting.
I know we've only got like 5 minutes left, but I'm going to bring somebody else in real quick.
All right.
Sure.
Stephen, how are you? Are you there? Can you hear us? Do you have your mute on, Stephen? I think you're muted or something.
Maybe he's using sign language.
Could be. He's trying telepathy. He's working on his telepathy. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, number 14 I really liked. It was I myself always decide and act on my own responsibility and lead and define my life myself. Which
wow, that's a good one.
It's a nice one. Yeah.
That's a very good one.
I always raise my view, recognize all possibilities, and I'm a positive thinker. I don't know. It's just these are so useful. Like they're not, happy, good feely, whatever kind of crap. Like it's actually something you can actually use in different situations, and it forces you to sort of think beyond maybe your present awareness. And that's kind of the point of this, I think.
Yeah. One thing that's really good out of all these meditation things that I've been recently thinking about a lot lately is the fact that you gotta take a little bit of time at the end of your meditation to integrate it, all the love and all the peace that you had during the meditation, as well as the insights that you gained, and bring those into daily life. And kind of sit there and do a post-meditation sort of coming back into life thought process.
That is important. Because I always kind of go through this little shock period while I'm coming back into consciousness or whatever, and I walk around in like a daze. But you're saying to kind of take a little time then to assimilate what you've just experienced and thought about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You kind of, like you said, assimilate it. Here's one, 438 in The Way to Live, page 378. When one returns from the meditation into the everyday life, one should not simply set it aside and forget the knowledge, the love and harmony, the peace, the insight and cognition, the feelings for others, the equanimity and suppleness, as well as the capaciousness and the humor, which is awakened by the meditation in the consciousness and in the feelings and emotions. Rather, they should be carried on as long as possible. And that's not the only one. I've read other things as well, but we in our group here in Colorado, we have a group that meets every second Saturday.
Oh, you
month.
do? That's awesome.
And there was a guy who was coming for a while, who he's not attending anymore, but when we would do the peace meditation at the end of our group meeting, just kind of for our own group bonding, I guess, and we would finish the meditation and the bell the little thing would ding, and he would get up and immediately be like, ding, okay, and he'd get up and then he'd leave. It's like ready, set, go,
Oh.
We we would talk about that after he would leave. Every once in a while, we'd think like, that's not really how you're supposed to do it, But
I think I would go out and get in a car accident because I'm not coherent. Like I'm stumbling around the house here. When I come out of meditation, I'm like tripping over things, and I should probably just lay there for a while and just kind of, gather myself or something.
Yeah, well, they say if you get sleepy at the end of the meditation, it's actually a good sign. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Here's a really good one. Number 442 on page 382 of The Way to Live. It says, during the first time meditating, meditation beginners ought to only carry out short exercises. The first time ought to not exceed 4 or 5 minutes, after which there should be a relaxation pause for about a minute. During this pause, one stops the meditation method, whereby, however, the attentiveness is maintained. Then, for 4 to 5 minutes, the meditation is practiced again, and so on and so forth, up to a total of 20 minutes. And then it just keeps going on. I don't know if I should read everything. But
I did meditate today, and I'm so thankful because I'm not doing it enough for whatever reason. And don't you think meditation affects the Lebenskraft, the life power?
Oh yeah. Whoa. Huge.
Yeah.
I know my sense of humor improves.
It really affects it.
Totally.
Yeah, Lebenskraft, huh?
Yeah, I can say it right now.
You guys hear me at all?
Oui.
Oh.
Am I coming across at all or no?
Yeah. Welcome.
There we go.
You're not using sign language anymore. Thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, I was using my microphone, and for some reason it wasn't picking it up, so I had to change to a different headset. But we're in business.
Excellent.
Bonjour.
Well, we've been all over the map, Stephen, talking about everything just about. You've been doing some. You should tell these guys that you've been doing some YouTubes about various different things, and you just did some stuff on the OM, right?
Yeah. Yep. Just had a couple that were shorter, like 17 minutes maybe, and then one was I think about 10 or something. But some of the longer ones are kind of hard to get time to record. You know what I mean? If they're over a half hour, by the time you get done editing it, it's a little time consuming, but it's all good. Yeah.
Really?
Is there an English version of the OM now? Probably. I don't know about that either.
No.
I don't think so. The only ones I was getting was off the Future of Mankind website.
Okay.
Somebody is translating it now, but it's going to take a while before they're done.
Oh yeah, have you seen how thick that thing is?
No. Is it huge?
That book is almost as thick as Goblet of the Truth translated. So the translated version of Goblet of the Truth is probably 2 inches thick, and the OM or OM, what is it, OM or OM?
Oh,
I don't know.
I think
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, that book, just the German version of the book, is about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches thick.
Gosh.
So that's going to be really thick if they translate that.
Yeah. He said he was working on it. I guess he's taking a break for a while, and it's going to be a while. So, yeah.
The Playaran recommended not to translate that.
Oh, is that right?
Into English, or was it just Billy who recommended that? But it's probably better. It's good that it's translated. It's, in my opinion, it's good that all of it is translated so that people can at least get some. But
sure,
especially with that book, you should really understand it in German. Hopefully, that's what I heard. I can't remember where I heard that.
You can try it in Swahili, but it's a bit difficult.
You read so much, it's hard to remember where you read it and keep track of it all.
Oh, I know. Well, and most of the stuff that I read, I went through a huge reading spree, like right when I first found out about the case, so I think most of the stuff that I read it like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too. It's unfortunate because, my memory sucks.
8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, one word that I was looking at today, and I probably am pronouncing this wrong, is the German word ausschlossen. which I guess means to trigger, to cause, to provoke, to elicit, to unleash, to release, to induce. I mean, it has so many meanings. So are you saying when you really get to the point where you can read this in the German, you'll read that one word and you'll get all those 6 different English words will come to you?
Well, just the meaning.
Yeah.
Those essences or whatever of each word. And auslösen would be like out, lose, or like an out, right? Or is is that right or no?
I think you might be on like, something there.
If that's like a literal translation, but I mean, there's a lot of. Is that how the Birkenau method kind of goes?
I don't know. I have no idea. But I can tell you that, like what you said earlier, and I forget in which reference it was, you were talking about 2 different translations.
Oh, yeah, with the striving part and the way to live, and then also in Decalogue.
The Decalogue, and it being the same thing, actually. In the 2 translations, it's a good thing there was 2, because the second one brought out things that were not in the first, probably.
A little bit, yeah.
And I think that's real critical. I think, at least, I don't know, in my opinion.
Like one time I took something off of the Beam portal and I translated it, and I took a long time translating it to try to get it right. I went through like 4 or 5 different methods with this thing, and it was just a short thing. And I sent it to Robin Foley, and she said it was totally wrong.
And how can that be? That is bizarre.
Because I translated each word directly, and then so I had that on one page, and then I did the translation, the whole thing in Google Translate. Then I did the whole thing in this other one, and then this other one, and then I used a book, and then I was like, okay, what's the best, conglomeration of this that kind of sounds the most accurate? And that's what I came up with. And then she said, oh, that's wrong. That's really
but
incorrect.
What is it? Robin Foley? Who's the other one? No, it's Vivian Legge and Dyson. Isn't there 2? There's like a 2 group. Who translated the Might of Thoughts? That was.
I think it was Vivian and Dyson. Okay. Maybe Robin might have done.
But there's disagreements between Vivian and Dyson and Marianne about certain things. How they should be translated.
Not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Maybe like in Dyson Divine did Might of Thoughts by the looks of it.
So, what I'm getting at here is they're understanding this in German is, to me, still something that's hard for me to grab a hold of. Exactly what that means.
I guess with the code, however, you don't necessarily need the sound of it is also very. It releases the code by itself, but unfortunately, it's very difficult to read that way. So.
Well, the question that I have is, how can anyone be so confident to say, "Oh, that's absolutely wrong"?
Yeah. Well, I guess everyone has their own perspective on things.
Well, they must feel very secure in their knowledge, and I would love to be there. I'm just saying I'm not there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The thing that I sent to Robin, I don't think she said it was like fully wrong. I think that from what I remember, that was like 7 years ago, right? But from what I remember, she said, "Oh, well, it's not fully right.
Okay.
There's some things that are just that's not the best way, and I can already think of a way that could be done better."
Well, let me ask you this: have you also, and this is something I find, I'll take a word in German directly out of Might of Thoughts, put it in one of these websites like dick.cc or something like that. They have no idea what that word means. Have you experienced that?
Well, it's because I think they combine words together which
do?
you can do in German. Yeah. Yeah.
There's also the Figu dictionary too.
Yep. Yeah, I'm starting to use that more as well. But my thing is, going into this translation thing is a whole nother ball of wax with a whole nother set of
I'm gonna finish my book first.
Well, it's great, and there's a great little piece written by Atlant Bieri, who, if you don't know who he is, he's Ava Bieri's son and Billy's adopted stepson. But no, not quite stepson, but he was basically raised by Billy. And he wrote a paper called On Studying Billy's Writings and Figu literature. And the main point in there was that he was saying that it's important. One thing, if you really want to get a lot out of it, is to have a dictionary handy and look up each word as you're reading, like each individual word. And you find out that Ausartung means this, but it can also mean this and this and this. And then you get a more all-encompassing view of what you're reading, and not just what you imagined it to mean or what you know it to mean.
Can you please say that was beautiful the way you pronounced that? Can you say that again?
Ausartung?
Oh, that is beautiful. That is my goal, my takeaway, one of my takeaways from this meeting. Say that again.
I mean, I'm not a perfect German speaker by any means, but I always thought it was Ausartung.
Ausartung. That sounds so much better than what I say.
Yeah, that's part of the fear of putting any of this stuff onto recording. If you're slaughtering the pronunciation,
Ausachtung.
Yeah.
What is he doing? He's ruining everything.
Yeah. Well, it depends what dialect you're using too, because when you speak with Swiss Germans who speak High German as well, their dialect is very different. When they pronounce A's, they do ah. They really go into all the letter, like each individual letter, and they really pronounce it.
The Swiss Germans, they sound kind of bouncy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a normal German might say, like, if I turn to a page on here, it'd be like, wurden die Menschen in die Natur ihres Bewusstseins kennen. And then the Swiss German would be like, wurden die Menschen die Natur ihres Bewusstseins kennen? Like it's...
Yeah. I was joking with my wife and her friend who live in northern Germany, and I was trying to speak Swiss German accent, and I was saying, "Kannst du bitte rollen?" And they said, that sounds just like them. So yeah, it's a totally different accent. Yeah, but I like it. It's cheerful.
It's good to go on YouTube and listen to those interviews with Billy.
Yeah,
the ones that Michael Horn recorded, or Jack Gerlach, or whatever, the raw cuts from Silent Revolution of Truth. They're on Figu's YouTube channel, and one of them's like 45 minutes. One's like, there's like 10 of them or something. And even just listening to him talk, you might learn things. You will learn things, whether you know it or not, but you'll hear him talk, and you'll have different realizations about how to say one word, or like, and also, I know we're probably out of time or going over, but one thing in those interviews, there's some really interesting things about that, because it's interesting to watch him react or not react, actually, about different things that are asked. Like the guy asks a question, if you teach that overpopulation is a big problem, yet you have 5 kids of your own, how can you respond to that, and how can you be like a hypocrite, basically, and teach this if you're and he does. Any normal person that anybody that I could think of might get kind of like an expression on their face, or like get kind of antsy in their seat. And he's totally calm.
Yeah.
And he just sits there and he just waits for the question to be finished, and then he says, "Well," because he has 2 kids, or he has 3 kids from Calliope that were his biological kids, and then Atlant Bieri, who was adopted, and he took him under his wing, kind of. Same with Nathan Brand, and then he had a kid with Ava Bieri.
You know, I always thought Atlant was his son. I mean, he looks like him, he talks like him. It's amazing.
Well, there's Atlantis.
Oh,
Atlantis.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Atlanta was born in like 82, I think. So.
Oh, okay.
And Atlantis is more like 68 or 70 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's so much like Billy. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it's great.
Daniel, have you met him?
Atlantis?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a few times. We went droning together this last time. He was going to bring his drone, and he kind of, I guess it was raining and not really good weather, so we decided to maybe put it off for another time. But no, I met him a few times. I think he wants to come to Canada sometime and just do a road trip sometime and whatever, see the big nature.
I got to meet him too.
Awesome.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah, they're all really nice. I find I get even more from meeting, just the people living there than I do from Billy, because Billy's usually really occupied in his mind and working on problems and things like that. And although I've chatted with him a few times, and he is always, greeting people and so on, very openly.
Can you speak German well enough to really say much to him?
I called the center this week and I tried to speak German. It took a little effort, but I can do it.
Who'd you talk to?
Eva. I actually called, and one time Billy answered the phone, and I was talking German, and I forgot a couple words, and we both started laughing on the. so that was good.
I've seen him answer the phone. I was sitting in the kitchen, and the phone rings, and then he comes out and answers it, and he says, "Meier."
Yeah.
Is that what he says?
Yeah,
that's all he says.
Yeah, that's how he answered the phone. At least when I saw him, but I thought, oh, that's funny. Like, he'll answer the phone. So if I called, like, he might answer the phone.
Yeah,
that would be wild.
Yeah. Well, they're just human beings.
I know.
Nothing particularly earth-shattering when you meet them, apart from they're very disarming.
So I know what you mean, though.
I don't know if I met everybody in the room. Is it Daniel Cooper here? Is that right?
Yeah.
Hi, Dan. I'm Steve, by the way. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. And then the other gentleman, is it Rem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Robinson. Yeah.
All right. Nice to meet you, Rem.
Hi. And Steve, what's your last name?
My last name is Woods.
Okay.
Okay. And
Steven,
where did you...
You're pretty new to the material, right? I mean, you haven't been even reading it that long, right?
Probably, about a year maybe, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's great.
That's wonderful. Yeah. It's very interesting.
How did you find it?
That's a great question.
It always is.
Yeah. I heard it was in another podcast somewhere, and somebody mentioned his name, and I'd never heard of him before. And the podcast continued, and for whatever reason, after the end of the podcast, I thought, that name stuck out in my memory, and I said, I'm just gonna Google it and find out. And one thing led to another, and I started reading some stuff, and
go check out the CalCorf website. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I did not. No. So it put me down the rabbit hole, if you will, and since then it's been a lot of reading and a lot of mind searching,
Yeah, been trying to dig yourself out ever since, eh?
Well, for sure, it's pretty challenging stuff. When you had certain beliefs for so many years that you're coming out of. I don't think most people get into this without searching for some reason. You know what I mean? So I'd already been questioning a lot of stuff, and this confirmed a lot of the things I was going through in my mind. And so, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What's funny is that I actually didn't find it by looking for it.
Yeah.
I was just looking at UFOs on YouTube, and then I just kept seeing Billy Meier. So and then I was like, this guy just keeps popping up.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people who I've met Daniel and Mark, that being two of them, and myself, and a lot of people, for some reason, found out about it between 2007 and 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Huh.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Because my angle came from more of the spiritual side. I really didn't know it was anything to do with UFO stuff when I started researching it. Yeah, I had no idea.
Congratulations. That's a different tack than most people get to it. So that's great. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, I guess my uncle told me about it. He's an electrical engineer, and he said, well, there's this UFO case. We were just talking about UFOs, and he said, yeah, there's this UFO case, and it's in Switzerland, and it's the best one I've ever seen, and whatever. So I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I already had the calculations and stuff. So Switzerland, eh? I got to check that out. So.
Yeah. You were kind of being led to Switzerland too, weren't you? Based on your calculations, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, exactly. So Switzerland, 1975. He said he saw it in 1989. I'm like, well, it could fit. So I checked out the first documentary, which was the Contact, and 1978, I guess, was the release date of that or something. So they mentioned 1975 in the documentary as when it started, or when it came public. So I thought, well, that's woohoo! Got my work cut out for the rest of my life.
Fish on, yeah.
So yeah, that was a nice moment. Oh, I was so happy.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've heard some of the stuff that you went into on that. Very interesting. Yeah, very logical. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
Out.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
Very interesting.
Well, especially when he writes stuff like this, like where he says, rely on the truth of the creational laws and recommendations and not on the personality of a human being.
Yeah.
Consequently, a human being ought not to ever rely on the personality of a teacher, rather solely on the teacher's message, and indeed only when it corresponds to the truth in truly form.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, like, I had a good math teacher in high school, which, she was great, but the math is what sticks and the math is what's important. She's, she was nice and she had a great personality, but same with Billy.
Yeah, no, I saw that with music, and I thought, well, the best way to teach music, which I don't, the best way to teach it is just to do a really good job with it. So, and my best teachers, the people that I really enjoyed listening to. So it's they weren't high school teachers most of the time. Who didn't play instruments. They were not people with degrees who didn't play instruments or record or compose or do anything original or fun or whatever. It was always these snobs, and I was like, couldn't take it. So same thing in music. Yeah, it's about the music. It's not about the personality. So
how about you guys? How many years have you been involved in looking into this material?
About 10 or 10 and a half or so for me.
Okay.
Years.
Yeah, it's about the same for me if you exclude the calculations. I started the calculations when I was in my teenagers.
Yeah, I would say it's about the same for me.
Yeah,
no kidding.
It's weird, eh? A lot of us, it's the same. Yeah.
That's very
I need the pacifier here in the group, eh?
Not at all. No, we're all equal. It's.
I'm just joking. As far as being a newbie,
No. There's no such thing. If you're understanding this stuff, this lifetime, then chances are you've probably crossed it, in previous lifetimes and stuff too.
Okay, here's something relating to that that's interesting. Is that apparently there's a high likelihood that you've been involved with it in a previous lifetime if you find out about it and you just can't get enough and you're expediting. You just kind of you can't do anything else except for it's like you're thirsty and you can't drink enough water,
Like fire hose,
yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be me, I'd have to say. Yeah, it's many hours. I don't watch TV, so it's like pretty much.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
That's great. Right on.
Where did you read that, Rem, or did you hear about that?
I read that on the Figu forum in the questions to Billy from I think it was sometime in the beginning of 2013. I think that was when the question was posed.
I've read it too. Yeah.
I actually asked Billy if I had been involved in the mission before. When I when I was in Switzerland in 2012.
Yeah.
I asked him if he could find out if I'd been involved in it before, and he told me that he said, well, I think I could probably do that. I could find out for you if you really want to know. But I'd have to ask Ptah. Ptah would have to talk to the High Council. The High Council would talk to Arahat Athersata, and then it would go back to the High Council to Ptah, then back to Billy. And he said, but I could do that. But then he probably forgot or something. I mean, but what's funny is that I don't really think I need that validation anymore, because I think it's probably it's more likely that that may have been involved in the past. But then, the older I get, the more I realize, well, what does it matter? I'm involved with it now, so
right.
So who cares about what happened before?
Am I the only one that thinks like this sometimes, guys? As far as all the work that you're putting into it in this life, right? And then I don't want to worry about future, things, and I know that the creation will have a way of bringing this out again. But you just think of for lack of a better word, the hell I've gone through to find the information and all the crap you go through to get here. And the thought of going through that again, you're like, really? Do I have to go through all the
I know
religion again? I'd really rather avoid that if I can,
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was my biggest motivation not to commit suicide when I was younger.
Really?
I don't want to go back through the school system anytime soon.
Yep.
It's a difficult time of sure.
What an awful time in life that was. Yeah.
But you will and you won't, because it's like almost like it's a different person in the future that is going to, it's like, what do when you get into that, you get into like the question of what am I? Like, on the one sense, you're the spirit, you're your spiritual consciousness, but on the other hand, you're your material consciousness. So in the future, it's going to be a totally different person. It's not going to be you at all in the material sense, but in the spiritual sense, it is you.
Here's Billy, that's billions of years old spirit form, right? And I think I mentioned this to Mark before, but yet he still found himself in a really rough marriage,
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody none of us would sign up for that and say, let me sign up for the School of Long Suffering. But there's a purpose behind it for some reason that, within that somewhere. Yeah.
It actually helped the mission too, which is weird.
I don't understand that fully yet. Yeah. I've contemplated that a lot lately, like what's the purpose but again, you don't gain these virtues in a vacuum, in an Edenic environment, you're not going to learn these things, to get the virtue of long suffering, you have to suffer long,
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Well, it's, I think I thought about that several times about his, the purpose behind that whole thing too. And I think there's lessons in everything, like you can see what people go through, different kinds of people go through to, how they accumulate wisdom or, reject knowledge or, whatever, integrate it or not, and all this kind of stuff. And based on where they are and so on. And that, we're all individuals and we're all going through our own thing, and we all need space, and we all need, love and understanding and so on and so forth, and regardless of where we are, who we are, or whatever. So
I think Mark sent me a link the other day too, like you seeing the creation in all these situations, whether it be positive or negative, it just looking at it for what it is, and what is it I can take from it as it is, and what's in the midst of it. That's important for us.
Rem, what you said was very profound. You said something along the lines of, what is the self?
Yeah. I wrote a paper on it somewhere. It's in my computer. But
really?
But yeah, it's like because it's interesting when you talk about your reincarnating spirit and the subsequent expressions of personality that are going to be happening in the future, and the ones that have already happened in the past. maybe it's easier to talk about the ones in the past because they've already happened, but it's like you know, were this person, you know, or like if Billy was Mozart or
Sure.
Mendelssohn or any of the other ones, you know. And he was and he wasn't, you know. It's a technicality that's important to address because it helps you make sense more of the way that reincarnation works according to this teaching. And so you'll never say that he always makes a clear distinction between, you know, like he never says I was this person or I was that person. He will always say, he will always refer to Emmanuel as his own person or Muhammad as his own person, or even though it's a predecessor personality of his spirit form.
You know, there is a passage, and this isn't an exact quote, but it says something to the effect that everything within the human that is human must die, but everything within the human that is of creation must rise or must live or something like that. But that made a profound effect on me. That was Emmanuel that said that.
Yeah.
So the part of you that's temporary, which is, you know, your material consciousness, your body, the spirit form is here as a guest.
Yeah, that reminds me of was that verse, you know, back in our Christian days of, you know, he must increase and I must decrease, you know. It's parallel to it. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of an analogy.
And their body is out of those three. It's almost like your body is the least permanent thing, because at least your material consciousness will be stored in the storage banks as impulses.
Right.
I don't know if your body is to any extent at all. No. You know.
Well, you could just compare it. Look at Mendelssohn versus Mozart versus Billy. I mean, Mozart and Mendelssohn composed totally different kinds of music.
Right.
It was basically what they were composing was being sort of opened for the time that they were living, and and Billy today does not know how to play the piano, I'm sure.
Wow.
Although he would be able to pick it up really quickly, I'm sure, because
you would think.
Yeah, you would think so.
Well, apparently he had a really good singing voice.
Oh, did he?
Apparently, yeah. That's interesting.
That is, really interesting.
That is very interesting. That documentary on Rasputin is also very interesting. I don't know how much of that is false, but it's probably worth checking out. Probably a lot of it's false, but there's a few things here and there that will make you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting.
Well, here's another thing also, is that Mozart apparently knew that he was going to die at a young age, and that's why he was so prolific.
Oh.
He only lived to like 30 something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it was mid-30s. I didn't know that he knew about that. I haven't really studied the history of these people. I just like their music, so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a great book called Mastery by Robert Greene, and he goes into Mozart. That's where I learned that from, at least. He goes into Mozart's personal history as well as a bunch of other people's history. He talks about the way that people have achieved mastery in their own specific field.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting book.
Cool. Yeah, well, I have to say, when I was suicidal, that's when I learned the most music. So, because I didn't think I would live past 23 anyway, so who cared? It just didn't matter. Just practice. That's all I had, So yeah.
That's
now, Graham, are you into music as well, or no?
Yeah, I've been playing the guitar for about 20 years, or a little more than that.
It seems like there's a lot of high percentage of musicians that are knowledgeable about this for some reason. I just find that interesting. The gentleman from Canada, I think he's a musician as well, isn't he?
I am.
Yeah. And then then there's the other Mr. Udebrook or something, or
Yeah. Totally forgot about him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a drummer. His wife's saxophone player.
He's a pianist too, right?
Oh, okay.
Udebrook?
I think,
Okay.
you might be right. Yeah. I think he is, like you say, a drummer, or he's into percussion of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he also makes the music that's in his YouTube
movies.
videos.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
Which
that's
is
awesome.
really great. I love listening to his videos. I wish he'd make another one, damn it.
He's got a fan.
I have to get him on the show just to say that. Can you do another one, damn it?
Yeah. Well, music really opens up that side of you, because you when you really get into it, you can't help but notice these aspects of yourself. So that's the one thing that music is great for, because it transcends, or it doesn't need, I don't know, it's hard to explain in words, but it just, there's certain aspects that become just so blatantly obvious when you're playing music that
I've thought that. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
I've thought that when a musician is doing it right, music is the sound of feelings.
That's a great way to put it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's profound.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can put notes together, but they don't have that feel, that you can play a note, but one person can make it it's their personality coming through in it, and for sure.
A lot of them, they just ignore the feeling altogether and try and focus on the notes. It's a pointless effort.
Yeah.
You might as well play jazz. I'm sorry I said that. But yeah, no, it happens a lot in jazz for some reason.
Oh, you're just talking about certain styles of jazz musicians that play too many notes, is what you're saying.
Or they just play notes, even if it's 3 notes, they just play them awful. It just sounds terrible. Because it's, the correct notes, then, quote unquote, then it must be good. But no.
Yeah, it might be in the right key. It might be perfectly attacked with the tempo, but just no, it's like no feeling. It's just might as well just plug it into some algorithm on the internet website and have the internet play it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you guys ever listen to Gregorian chants at all.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can sleep with those on, blasting in my earphones, and I can sleep. It's the most unobtrusive music in the world. I can just lay there, and it just enters my whole body, and my consciousness just goes. I'm gone.
That was Hildegard that created that.
Yeah, Hildegard von Bingen.
Who's
right,
that?
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
I don't know much about her. I guess she was a woman back in the 15th century or something, and she was kind of ahead of her time in terms of medicine and music and a whole bunch of things. So
it was that late. 15th.
It might have been earlier. It might have been earlier. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Have you guys ever listened to the Tibetan bowls?
Oh, those are nice too. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could just live in a place like that. Just having those going on all day. Man, that'd be great.
Well, stuff like that is anything with harmony and so on is good for your psyche. So, it's really good for the psyche. That's the most important thing.
Those Gregorian chants, those guys can do that for 8 hours sometimes.
Wow.
They'll do it all day, literally all day. You can go out on YouTube and get 8-hour Gregorian chants, and it's this one flowing, harmonious thing that goes on forever.
Neat.
That is cool.
Isn't that just like the creation or something? It's just so astounding.
Yeah. Well, music gets right to the point, doesn't it? It's not like other art forms, which kind of you have to analyze. Music is just instantaneously in the brain. It's just analyzed. It's felt instantaneously. You don't have to think about it, it's a very interesting kind of art form.
And you don't have to be a musician to receive the the benefit
exactly.
of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so great. It's so great to talk to non-musicians, like usually who are into what I was saying earlier, like these jazz or whatever snobs, all this kind of stuff. Because man, they just have no objectivity anymore. It's just. And when you talk to people who don't know any music, and who don't play any music, I mean, it seems like they know more than these other so-called musicians. It just about harmony and yeah.
One of my favorite albums that always brings me back to the Semyazi Silver Star Center was this album that I listened to while I was working there, like every day. It's called My Secret Heart. It's by the piano player Michael Whalen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really soothing, and I played some of it for Christian, and he was like, "Yeah, that's very good for your psyche to listen to stuff like that."
Sounds good.
I will
check that out
definitely.
too.
I'll look that up.
Yeah, there's one too. The piano seems to be a really hell of a nice instrument. I know it's certainly stood the test of time. It's called Piano Cascades, I guess. And there's it's like there's the nature stuff in the background and everything too. But it's really beautiful, really pretty.
I've sent you, Daniel, the URL to my Pandora radio station, but you can't listen to it, right? They won't let you in Canada listen to it.
No, no luck here.
Gosh, so I'll have to send it to the other guys.
Sure.
Please do.
It's amazing. I've really stumbled across the right mix of a lot of things. I listen to that continually. But
cool.
Well, we better bail. We're going towards 2 hours.
That's good.
What is it? An hour and 40 or something?
Yeah, hour and 40 minutes. Rem, do you have any closing thoughts? I'll put you on the spot.
Well, no, not really, because I don't want to jump off into another tangent.
That's good. Well, I'm going to try to get the Decalogue, and I'll ask Michael Horn first. But then, if I can't get it from him, I didn't know it was in English. That's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know it was in English either.
How big is that book, Rem?
The Decalogue isn't very thick. It's not as thick as Way to Live. It's maybe 2/3 of the thickness of that, or even half.
Okay, so it's kind of small, actually.
It's a little bit smaller. Yeah,
I have to check that one out.
Yeah, Michael should have it.
Excellent. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I'll post this. I may not make it available till Tuesday, but I'll post this up on Blog Talk soon.
Rock and roll. Sounds good.
See you. Have a good night.
Yeah,
We should do this again.
Yeah, we will. Definitely.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Okay.